In a loss to Drew Brees and the Saints, apparently Bill Belichick never sugarcoated criticism for Brady, and neither is his new coach, Bruce Arians, who was surprised by Tom's performance. The floor is your source.
He looked like Tom Brady in practice all the time, so it's kind of unusual to see that in the ball game because they didn't do the things that we didn't get ready for. Everything they did, we thought we were ready for. He's had it before. I mean, he knows how to bounce back, and he knew he didn't play very well. And it's not what he expects from himself, nor do we expect. So I would anticipate him to have a little more grit and a little more determination this week.
All right, that was Arians. Marcus Spears back here with us. Check out Marcus every day on NFL Live, 4 Eastern on ESPN for more NFL coverage. Max, I'll start with you. Are you worried about your guy? Because I know you care about Brady so much after week 1.
You're exactly right, Molly. And I'm very concerned.
Where's your mic?
You dropped your mic,
Max.
Smith might say.
Again,
the mic fell.
Come on, Max. Come on, Max.
Again.
I have to wait. I have to wait for the actual mic drop. That's my fault. So I am very concerned, as Stephen A. Smith might say.
It's just showing your inexperience dropping the mic, by the way. It's just showing your inexperience dropping the mic. It shows you never really dropped the mic.
Stephen A., it's like a reflex now.
Because if you never drop the mic, you know how to drop the mic. Okay?
Stephen A., you might never drop. Don't worry about it. Listen.
You're just saying. Listen. I'm very experienced at it. You're not. That's what it is.
All right, let's go.
Stephen A. trying to drop the mic. You think there's glue in his hands. It's not going anywhere. Stephen A., as you might say, my Tom Brady. Of course, I'm concerned about my Tom Brady, everybody. First of all, the head coach has to say after week 1 that he needs to show more grit and determination. He said that to Tom Brady? Tom Brady needs to show more grit. I guess the coach feels like he needs to motivate him by publicly humiliating him, right? Like what? Bruce Arians, known as a nice guy, has to publicly humiliate Tom Brady. He feels like it's that desperate that he's got to do that to his quarterback? Well, let's see why. Maybe it's because for the first time ever, Tom Brady 43 and Drew Brees 40, like two post-40 quarterbacks are playing each other in the NFL, right? Like that's not supposed to happen because every single rule protects the quarterback. They're much less likely to get injured now than they were once upon a time. And so eventually they are going to fall down the ravine, let's say. And maybe there's some concern about that Brady needs the extra motivation because he's ancient. He's 43 years old. Maybe it's some concern because he ain't in the AFC East no more. You know, that's all. P.J. Lossman, whoever he thought he was going to face in the AFC East, you're not going to face Ryan Fitzpatrick every other day like you did in the AFC East. Do you realize the quarterback considered the worst in the division is probably at this moment Teddy Bridgewater, who has won twice as many games as he's lost throughout his NFL career and is still in his physical prime? That's the worst guy. That would be one of the best guys Brady would ever have to face in the AFC East. Not there anymore, no. No, it's Drew Brees and Matt Ryan now. It's a different kind of animal. Not in Bill Belichick's system, right? That's not there anymore. It's not going to be, hey, he's the greatest system quarterback of all time, the system being the Patriot way and Bill Belichick. No. Now he's got to learn new things. Can't blame the weapons. Got weapons everywhere he looks, right? Everywhere he looks. There's weapons. That's what everyone was talking about during the offseason. Oh my God, Mike Evans and Godwin, and look at all the tight ends. O.J. Howard, people remember what they were saying about him out of college? And you got Brady, and you got Gronk, and you got name brand running backs, and you got a defense. You got all that, and the coach after day 1 has to say out loud about Tom Brady, he needs to show more grit and determination. The only reason you say that is if you feel that dude needs to be motivated. Why did Brady leave Belichick? Is it because he still wanted to prove that he's the guy that Belichick didn't think he was, that it's really more Brady than Belichick, that he wants to win Super Bowls? Is it because Bill Belichick wouldn't let him turn the Patriots into a TB12 infomercial? Bruce Arians felt like he had to publicly humiliate Tom Brady after the first week of the season. Go ahead. Don't be concerned.
Professor Kellerman, you know, sometimes the most excruciating part about listening to you is just the length of having to listen to your drivel. You bring up stuff like fake news or low quality information, and that's exactly what the hell you just gave our audience. Fake news and low quality information. So let me get this straight. You haven't had a preseason game. You haven't had a preseason game. All you've had is practice, okay? You haven't gone against real competition, particularly with these guys ever, okay? The first time you go up against them, against an opponent, it's against a Super Bowl title contender led by the great Drew Brees with the great Michael Thomas, who added Emmanuel Sanders and just re-signed Alvin Kamara. Sean Payton calling plays. The list goes on and on. And that defense is nothing to sneeze at either. And we're going to sit up here and talk about there's a lot to worry about because Tom Brady had a bad game, his very first game, with a coach he had never played for before in his life, an offensive coordinator that never called plays for him before in his life. And oh, by the way, Mike Evans had 1 reception for 2 yards. Do you really think that's going to continue? Mike Evans, for crying out loud. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Bruce Arians calling out Tom Brady. Bruce Arians, I have no doubt these coaches communicate with each other, at least in the offseason, once or twice. I'm quite sure Bruce Arians did his homework on Tom Brady. I'm quite sure he's been told what makes him tick, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to pacify him. You don't have to refrain from telling it like it is because he's a man. He can handle it. He can take it. He's been to 9 Super Bowls. He's a 6-time Super Bowl champion, and he did it playing for one of the roughest curmudgeons you'd ever want to meet in your life, and Bill Belichick as his head coach. I think he could take what Bruce Arians has to say. I think Bruce Arians knows it, and that's why I don't think there's anything to worry about. It's much ado about nothing. Every Sunday, you're not going up against the New Orleans Saints. You're going to be going up against inferior competition more times than not compared to the New Orleans Saints. This is much ado about nothing. It's one game. They'll be just fine.
Max, I'll be lying to you if I said I had no concern, but the concern is built in the fact that I know they're going to continue to get better and build continuity. This notion that you wait for something bad to happen to Tom Brady so you could just try to flex your chest and talk about him being bad is the craziest thing in the world to me. It's like all of the stuff that happened in football, you waited for Tom Brady to have this situation so you could try to justify all of the foolishness that you done spewed about Tom Brady. It's Belichick's system. Somebody had to execute it, Max. Somebody had to go out there and actually play the game and execute the things that were needed to have success. That was New England. Tampa, to Stephen A's point, listen, I expected them to look better than they look, but I'm not alarmed. We talking about the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. There is no doubt about it that is Tom Brady. He also is 43. There are some things you can't ask